On today's TK Friday episode, I'll show you how to create your own watermark, and I'll also show you how to get some free icons from Adobe Stock to use with those watermarks. And I'll also do a short follow-up on the previous Web-Sharpen video, filling in some things I missed on the previous video. You don't want to miss this one. We're going to make a watermark today. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. It is TK Friday, and I'm excited. I love TK Fridays, and I hope you do too. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a watermark, and I'll also, as I said in the intro, give you a few things that I kind of missed last week on the Web-Sharpen video, just to kind of bring it all together. This is going to be fun, not quite as intense as last week's video. Thanks for all of those out there who watched that video, but that's going to be a great resource for you to go back and look at for all your web sharpening needs. By the way, if you don't yet own the TK8 plugin for Photoshop, you can click on my affiliate link found in the description below this video. Just click on that link. It'll take you to the TK web store where you can purchase the TK8 plugin for Photoshop along with training videos. And if you use my promo code DK15, you'll save 15% off your entire purchase. And when you do that, you're supporting the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And for that, I truly thank you. Well, let's go ahead and jump into this. Are you ready to make a watermark? Hey, you know what? It is really not that hard. The first thing we need to do is open up a new file document. And the easiest way to do it is either come to the CxPanel or the combo panel. And you see this button right here. If you click it, you'll open up this new dialog box. And here what we need to do is give our document a name. Let's call this one, I'm just going to call it Watermark TK Friday. Now, the next thing we need to do is determine how wide the image is going to be. Now, this is the most important thing you need to figure out. The widest image that I put on the web will be no wider than 3,000 pixels. So you want to figure out the maximum width of your image. Now, it could be 4,000 pixels. It could be 2,000 pixels. For me, it's 3,000 pixels. But just determine what will be the maximum width of your image. And then as far as height, I only use a smaller height here, like 500 pixels. I'll be adding text, so I don't need this to be super high, and I will also crop it later. Now, for resolution, it's very important that you use 72. This will match the resolution of the web sharpening output that you're going to put up on the web. It will be a 72 resolution image, so you want to make sure you use 72 here, or this won't work right. Trust me on this. Keep this at 72. For color mode, you can leave this at RGB color. It doesn't really matter so much if you use 8-bit or 16-bit. Well, I'll just make this 16-bit. It really doesn't matter that much. For background color, I use black because I use a white font, but you could choose any color you want. Now, see this black box right here? Click it, and your color picker comes up. You can make this any color you want, but I'm leaving mine black. Now, for the working profile, this is important. You want to use sRGB, and if you click the drop-down, you have different choices, but you want to use sRGB because all the images that you will web sharpen will go up on the web as sRGB. So you basically want to keep things consistent here with the watermark. In other words, 72 resolution and sRGB for the color profile. As far as pixel aspect ratio, this is fine. Just leave it the way it is. This is set for square pixels. I don't really understand all this different stuff in here, but I just use square pixels, and it works fine. Now we have it all set up, so just click OK. And now we have this nice little black box, which we're going to fill in with some text. So go ahead and grab your text tool. You'll find it in your tool well, or you could just type T for text. And now you can see my cursor is changed to like the I-beam for the text tool. So just left-click anywhere in here. And now you see we have some lorem ipsum here. It just lets us see where our text is going to fall out. Now that's going to get replaced when we start to type. But you'll notice my color right here is orange, and I don't want orange. Let's make this properties panel a little bit larger here so we can see some different options here. You see right here my paragraph is set for center text. I usually use center text, but you can use left align or right, whatever you want. But I put mine on centered. And let's click on the color swatch here, and I'm going to change this. I'm just going to drag this. I call this a puck over into white. And now I'm just going to type the joy of, let's do a capital of editing with Dave Kelly. Not really worrying about the size And then you can just click on this check up here to accept that text. Now for the next step, we have to make this text fit from the left to the right of this image. Or if you're going to put an icon on the left, you have to leave a little bit of space. But first, let me show you how I would fill it up if you weren't going to use an icon here. Okay, so here's my text. And I find the easiest way to change the size of your text is just to use a transform tool. It's Command or Control T, that's the shortcut. Or you can go ahead on the combo or CxPanel and click this button right here. That gives you the transform tool. And then what I like to do is just drag it from the right and keep dragging till it touches the right side of the black rectangle. And then on the left side, drag it till it touches the left side. And then what you can do is in the center, just kind of pull down and it'll lock in when you get it to the edge of the bottom of the rectangle. And then just click this check to accept it. Now, if you don't find yours is locking in, come up to the menu of Photoshop and click on View and make sure you have Snap checked on. And under Show, make sure you have, I always have Smart Guides on. Make sure that's checked on, so that way it'll snap in. Now, right now, you can see the font I'm using is Arial Black. If you don't like that font, you can click this drop down. And as long as you have this layer active, click on this drop down box and you can see different fonts. Just hover over them and you can see how they change. Now let's say I like this American typewriter font. I would need to use the transform tool to fit it in. I'll stick with Arial Black, but you can use any font that you would like. I can even use different fonts here. On Dave Kelly, if I see my I-beam, if I click and drag over Dave Kelly and highlight that, then I could come here to my character. I think I'll try a handwritten font, like this guy right here, Miss Stanford. I'm just going to click on that. And now click the checkbox up here to accept that. And now let's click on the transform tool, and now I can retransform it. I'm going to pull it up till it touches the bottom edge. Drag the right side of the transform tool till it touches the right edge and the left. Drag it to the left till it touches the left. And now you see that Y is right on the edge, but I think I need to move it up right there. Now I got it. So it's all set up. And then you can just click this button right here, the check, or type return. But what if I wanted to add an icon over here? But if I just wanted to have the text going across for the watermark, that's cool. But let me show you how we can even add an icon if we want to. I'll grab my transform tool again, and I'll just take the left side and start to drag it in, giving myself a little bit of space and make sure I'm touching the bottom edge there. And then to accept the transform, either click on this check right here or type your return key. And now I need to grab an icon. So come up here to File and come to Place Embedded. Your file browser will open up, and mine are under Downloads, and I'm going to use this one right here, this camera. I'm going to show you how to get some free stock icons, so stay tuned. You don't want to miss any of this stuff. So let's click this and click Place. And there it is. But you notice it's black, so we can't see it. On this layer, double click right here. Your layer style comes up, and you can come here to Color Overlay. Click on that. Make sure you click on it. And then see this swatch right here. Right now it's like a yellowish orange. Click on it. And I'm just going to drag my puck right up into white and click OK. And then just click OK to accept that. And you can see there's that color overlay. If I shut it off, you can see it's hidden, right? So I'm going to turn it back on. Now I need to resize that. So I'm on this layer right here. So let's get that transform tool, which you're going to find comes in really handy. And let's just drag the corner here and resize this. And then we could position it, do I want it in the center? And I think I do. I think I want it like in the center here. And now I can click on the text layer. Let's get the transform tool again. So let's click this button. And maybe I want to drag the right side in a little bit to keep it a little bit away from the logo, maybe right to about there. And I think that's good. And again, the check or type return, and that's it. Now we need to crop this because we have all this extra black space up here. Remember, I told you it didn't matter about the height that much, and it really doesn't. So to get your crop tool, you can either click on the tool wheel, crop tool icon, or just type C for crop. That's the shortcut. And just drag this down. It'll lock when it gets to the top of that icon right there. And just release it. And make sure you have delete crop pixels checked on, and just click this check to accept the crop. Now you've made your watermark. Now if you just want to have a black background behind your watermark, you're good. You can go ahead and save it out. But what if you don't want a black box behind it. You could come here and just shut this background layer off by clicking right here. Let me turn it back on and see this lock right here. Click this lock, it'll unlock this layer, and then you can double click here and you could click on color overlay, and you may want to change this to a different color, like maybe you want a red background behind there. Okay, I would more than likely use a black background. I'll just click OK, but you can change that. I'm going to click OK here to accept that, but I don't want to have this on. So let's shut this eye off, and now I just have a transparent background. So all you'll see from my watermark is my text with my icon. Now we have to save this out. You can use the shortcut Command or Control S, or you could come up here to File and click on Save and tell it where you want it to go. In my case, I want it to go on my computer, so I'll click this. And I'm going to put it in this drive right here inside of this watermarks folder. So I'm going to double click this and watermark TK Friday. I'm going to save it as a Photoshop file. Just click on save and I've saved it. It's saved. We're going to use it in a little bit, but I'm going to show you how to make another watermark, and then we'll use both of those watermarks. I'm going to go ahead and close this document by clicking the X. It's already been saved. Now let's come back and make another watermark. I'm going to make one like a big watermark that can go in the center of a screen in case you have something you put on the web and you want to make sure nobody steals your image. So let's do that next. So let's create a new file, and this time let's make it 2000 pixels wide by 2000 pixels high. A nice big square. And let's give it a name. I'm going to call it TK Friday Big Watermark. And I have it set for 72 RGB color. It's set for 16-bit. It could be 8-bit. It doesn't really matter. I have a black background, and it's set for sRGB. And I'll just click OK. And there it is. Now we just need to fill it up. I want to fill it up with a big icon, so I'll just come up here to File and go to Place Embedded. I think I want to use this icon right here. So I'm going to click on it and click Place. And there it is. Now it's the wrong color, so I can double click here and I can click on Overlay, Color Overlay, and click on this black swatch, and let's change this to white and click OK. Click OK here, and we could click on Transform, the Transform button. You know, I can make it even a little bit larger. I can make it so it comes up and touches that edge there. Let's see if I can come down here. I got to make sure the left and right sides don't go outside the black box, something like that. And maybe I will center it. See how those magenta lines come up? It's centered right there. So I think that's a good size, and then I can click the check or type return. And by the way, I want to point your attention to this layer here. Notice that this is a smart object. Whenever you come up to File and click Place Embedded, it's always going to be a smart object. So that's kind of a nice thing. And I think I want to put my initials right up in here. So let's grab a text tool. I'm just typing T for the text tool. I'm going to click right here, and I'm just going to type DK. Now, I don't like that font, and I don't like that color. Let's go ahead and accept that by clicking on the check. But let's go ahead and change the font. Make sure this layer is active, the text layer. And when you click the drop-down character here, we can change it to, I think I'll use that Arial Black. And I'm going to change the color, so click on the color swatch and let's make it white as well and click OK. And now let's grab that transform tool. Don't you love that transform tool? It's really cool. So I can make myself a nice big DK and pop it maybe right about there. And click the check or type return. And there it is. Now all I need to do is save it out, and I'll have a nice big logo that I can use right in the center of my image. So we'll just come up here to File, click Save or Command or Control S, and then click on your computer. And let's go back to that drive that I want under Watermarks. This is going to be called Big Watermark. It's a PSD file, Photoshop file. Click Save, and it's saved. So now I can just close this out. And now let's see how we can use those. Let's go ahead and open up the Web-Sharpen panel. Click on this triangle. Now I showed you last week how to save presets in that. Remember I had a preset for horizontal images. This is a horizontal type image crop. So I'm going to click on this. It will set the height for 2000 or the width for 3000. In this case, it's going to choose the width of 3000. The panel will honor the width and the height will be whatever it needs to be. And if I click, and my logo is on here, and if I click the little gear icon, you can see I have it going off to the right. Let's just put it in the center here. The preset had it going to the bottom right, but I'm going to change it and make it go to the center. And let's make the size, the full size of it, and let's take the opacity the whole way up. I'm going to go ahead and X out of this, but first I need to change that to one of my new watermarks. So let's click on Choose. It's going to open up the file browser. And let's use this one, TK Friday, the first one I made. So I'm going to click that and click Open. So now that is the watermark it's going to use. I'm not going to apply it yet. I'm going to click on the X here. Because remember, if I click on Fit or Horizontal, it'll make this image 3,000 pixels wide. It's going to put that watermark right across the center. So let's click on Fit and see what happens. And there it is. The joy of editing goes from edge to edge. Now, if I don't like that, simple. All I need to do is I'm on this watermark layer, which is a smart object, by the way. I can just click the trash can, delete it. Let's go back in here, and this time let's go to the gear icon and let's make it smaller. And this time I'm going to make it go into the right-hand side of the image, and I'm going to take the opacity and pull it back a little bit. And let's click Apply. But remember, this image is already sharpened. I just got rid of that original web sharpening watermark. And now I'll click Apply. And if I don't like that, I can go ahead and delete that. I'll use my CxPanel trash can. And let's make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to drag this resize to the left, make it a little bit smaller, maybe not quite as much opacity, and then I'll click Apply. And that looks really good. Now remember, on the watermarks, you can always come here and change the opacity anytime you want to. And the other thing is you can always use your transform tool. This is really cool. Click on that transform tool. You're going to learn to love this transform tool. And you can take this and move it around. Say you don't like it there. You want it over here. Or you want it larger. You can go ahead and drag this and make it larger. Or smaller, whatever you want to do. So you have a lot of flexibility here. You can even change the color of it. Let's go ahead and accept that transform. We can double click right here and say, let's go to color overlay and say, I don't want that color. Let's click on this swatch right here and let's choose a color in the image, like maybe right here, and click OK and click OK. And there it is. But maybe I want it to stand out a little bit more, to make it a little bit bolder. Come to this watermark layer and drag this opacity more to the right, and let's try 93%. So there's without the watermark and there's with the watermark, but that's how you use it. You may want to go back and watch that other video, the previous video last week, where I really took a deep dive into that Web-Sharpen panel right here. So in case you're unfamiliar with some of this stuff, you may want to go back and watch that. I went ahead and opened up this image. I want to Web-Sharpen, but use that big logo that I just made. So let's come up and open up the Web-Sharpen panel by clicking on this triangle button. I'm going to use my horizontal watermark preset just to get me started here, because it's got me set up with 2000 by 3000 pixels, 72 resolution. Now the logo's already turned on, but let me click on the gear icon, and this time I need to choose that other watermark. So click on Choose, and I want this watermark right here. But notice something, this watermark has the black background. I forgot to shut that layer off, but we'll fix that and I'll show you here. Not a problem whatsoever. Let's click Open. Now, what I want to do is I want this to be in the center of the screen. So let's click this dot right here. That'll put it right in the center. And let's take the resize and take it up full size. And let's start out with opacity full. Let's X out of here and let's click on Fit. And now we have that big watermark right there with a black background. That's not a problem. This is a smart object. All we need to do is double click right here in the smart object. And Photoshop opened up that smart object document. And now I can go ahead and just shut off the background layer. And just click the X here and click on Save. Now this watermark is too big, too bold, and I need to tone it down, make it a little bit smaller. So we need to change some things. So we're going to come back into the Web-Sharpen panel and change things up here a little bit. But first, Remember that watermark had a black background. I need to fix that. So first off, let's delete this layer by clicking on my trash can. Get rid of the watermark. Let's come up here to File. Let's go to Open. And on my computer, let me double click this and open this up. And let me go ahead and shut this off. And now I'm going to resave this. I'm going to do a Command or Control S to resave it. Now I'm going to X out of here. So now that background is permanently shut off. So that's important. I want to make a preset in preset 4 that uses that big logo. So let's click on the gear icon, and I'm still using that TK Friday big watermark, and I still want it in the center, but I want to resize it. I want to make it smaller. We're going to experiment and see what we can do here. I still have the web sharpened image open here, and I'm going to take the opacity and pull it back a good bit, maybe to 41%. Let's click apply and see what happens. That's not too bad. I'd like it to be a little larger, but the opacity looks good. So let me go ahead and delete this layer by clicking on the trash can. Let me go ahead and just resize it up a little bit to maybe here. Click apply again. And I think that looks good. To save that in that preset, let's X out of here. Now Command or Control click the 4. And now we need to give it a name. I'm going to call it BM for big watermark and click OK. Now let's test it out. Let me close out this sharpened image. I'm not going to save it. And now with those new settings, I'm going to go ahead and click Fit and see what it does. And there it is. And if we look at the image size by clicking on size here, we can see that it is 3,000 pixels wide, which it should be. I'm just going to click Cancel. So that's good. Now let me close this out again. Don't save. And if you recall from last week's tutorial, if you hold your Command or Control key down and click on the Web Sharpen button, it'll go ahead and run the last thing you've done in the Web Sharpen panel, and there it is. So now you know how to make your own watermarks. Now, how do you get some free icons? Well, if you come up to the icon for your Creative Cloud and give that a click, and click on Stock and Marketplace, and then come to where it says free, so click on free, and then in this search field, we can type what we want to look for. Let's say we want to look for some camera icons. So let's type that in. And I'll just type return, and it's going to do a search here and see what it comes up with. So it comes up with, these are all free, by the way. These are all camera icons that you can use. And if you get one that you like, see where it says, now I've already chose that when it says license. And if you've downloaded any, it's going to let you know. Like I chose that one already. Just for the heck of it, let's click this one. It's like inside your camera, the shutter. So let's click on license, and you'll notice here, and I want to point something out. See here where it says vector, and it comes on to vector by default. Use vector. These vector icons are not pixel-based icons, so you have unlimited resizability, so I really recommend that one. And I think the file size is smaller, and then you have PNG, which are good for using with transparent backgrounds, but you're going to have a bigger file size, and they are pixel-based. So use vector. And then just click download, and you'll see your file downloads. And it's going to go to wherever your downloads go. Mine go to my download folder. And it's just that simple. I can just X out of here now and just X out of here. But that's how you can get yourself some free icons. And you get those as part of your Photoshop Lightroom subscription plan. And there's a lot of free icons to choose from. Just don't forget, type in the search field what you want to look for. And now I just want to go over some things I didn't get to cover in last week's Web Sharpen deep dive. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this watermark by clicking on the trash can. Now let's say you sharpened this image, and it is sharpened, as you can see right here. And you might say, oh shoot, I forgot to put a watermark on it. That's not a problem. You see this button right here on the combo or CxPanel. It's the copyright symbol. That's for watermark. Click on that. And then you could come here and you can adjust your position. Let's say I want this to go to the right-hand side. I want to make this a little smaller, give it a little more opacity. I want to choose a different watermark, like let's say I want to use this one, The Joy of Editing, and click Open. And now I can click Apply. And there you go. I got this cool camera guy here. He looks a little too big, right? So maybe I don't like that one. So I can come and click the trash can and come back to choose. And let's go back to the one we made today. I like this one. Click on Open. Let's go ahead and click apply and see what we think. That looks good. Now you might say, well, it's too big. I don't have to go through and adjust all this again. Remember, you have that transform tool. Click on the transform tool and you can just resize this, and then you can take it and drag it and move it anywhere that you want. So I really wanted to cover that. And then to accept that, just click this check or type your return key. So that's one thing you can do. Let me X out of here. So don't forget about that copyright button. You can add watermarks at any time. And the other thing you can do is if we double click right here, we can add a layer style. Like we can come here to color overlay. We can change the color. Click on this swatch here. What if I wanted to use like maybe a red from this image, like right here, a warm tone. Let me click on the swatch here. Let's make it a lot lighter though, so we can really see it. Maybe like that. Click OK. And now we can see that pretty well. And we can also, do some beveling and embossing. So you can click on bevel and emboss and you can adjust the size and the softening. And you can emboss it if you want to, or if you don't want it, you could shut it off. So there's different things you can do in here. You can add drop shadows or whatever. And I'm just going to click cancel because I don't want to change that. But that's how you can change the color of your watermark at any time, or bevel and emboss it, or anything in layer style you can add to it. Now I'll show you something else. I'm going to go ahead and close this image. I don't need it. I'm going to sharpen this image again, but I only want to sharpen it in the foreground. So how can I take care of that? I'm going to go ahead and open up my Web-Sharpen panel, and I'm going to use the horizontal watermark, but I don't want to use the logo. So here's something I can do. I want these dimensions, and these are great, but I don't want the logo. Just shut the logo off. And I can either hit horizontal or fit to make it work. I'm just going to go ahead and click fit, and there's my image sharpened up. And if we look at the size, we can see it's 3,000 pixels wide. Now, what if I don't want it in the sky, but only on the foreground? We can click on the sky selection button on the CX or combo panel, but you can't use it when you're on a group. So let's click on the layer below, and let's click this button. It's going to select the sky. And let's just invert it by clicking this button right here. And then you see this button here. This will add a layer mask, but you got to make sure you're on this group. You're going to click it once. The mask goes away. Click it again. And now it's protecting the sky from getting sharpening. See the black mask right there? Let me go ahead and close this because I don't really need it. I'm not going to save it. Now, let's say you were working on this image and you already had a sky mask saved out, a foreground mask saved out. We can utilize those masks when we sharpen, because the cool thing about masks, whenever you sharpen and the size changes, the masks will go ahead and resize themselves. So here's what we can do. We can come back and open up the Web-Sharpen panel. And again, I'm going to use the same dimensions here. No logo. I'm going to go ahead and click on fit. Now I don't want it in the sky. So what I can do, I'm on the web sharpening layer. We can click this button on the combo panel, which is right here, or on the CX panel, which is here. I'm going to click it, and it's going to give us a choice of channels. So I'm going to click on foreground, and there it applies that mask right there. And it's only sharpening the foreground, but not the sky. So you can also use masks that you've already saved out as channels. And then if I decide, you know what, I do want to put a watermark on here, so I can click the C button and add a watermark. This is the watermark I want. I'll just click apply, and there you go. So that's it. And I think I pretty much covered everything that I missed from last week's tutorial, which was super long. Well, there you go, everyone. Now you know how to make a watermark, and now you know how to get some free icons to add to your watermarks. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to this channel, please subscribe and click that bell notification icon. Every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get a notification. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly, and I will see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing!